Good afternoon. Hand today is King Queen of Hearts. So we have villain 4 opens. He's in under the gun +1, equivalent to middle position. He's playing 31 to 8-3, a little bit looser, not as aggressive. If we look at his MP stats, his raise first sin's 13%. It's a little bit looser than the EP stats. So we can kind of look at this player, and if we start at, let's say, 13%, 13.3, we're looking at something like this. And it's probably correct. We'll add maybe a few more hands here, take out a few hands. That might be his range. It could be also with these. I don't know what he has, so no, don't really have anything. So it's the aces, maybe it's the low aces, maybe it's the mid aces, mid suited aces. I think we'll go here. Ace 7 suited plus ace 6 suited plus. Ace 8 plus. I think we'll stick to that. We'll say that's his range, and then it's on us, and we're basically up against a mid position player, although he is kind of an early position because he was second to act. This is a full table, but we're playing at seven-handed right now. So I kind of think we're looking at something like this. I think we could 3-bet him a little bit. His fold to 3-bet stat is 0. I think he's playing a strong enough range that he's probably going to call. So I think most of our raises, most of our 3-bets are going to be these value 3-bets. So jacks plus, probably ace king suited plus. Maybe raise, maybe 3-bet with ace queen offsuit, but call with just ace queen suited. I kind of like this a little bit better because we have playability with ace queen suited, more playability that allows us to call. Whereas if he just folds when we have ace queen suited, that's okay. I'm sorry, ace queen offsuit. If he calls when we have ace queen offsuit, it's going to be a little bit harder because we don't really have the flushes coming up. And then we could toss in like some of the ace 2, ace 3, ace 4, maybe ace 5 suited, just as a slight bluff. So I think this is an okay calling range. And I did call, and the rest of the players folded. So let's get our hands here. This is ours. We are playing tighter, so 8.9%. We have 118 combos. Their combos, they're going to have the nuts advantage here because we, in theory, shouldn't have like queens plus or ace king. But at the same time, they do have more hands in their range. So flop, we see eight of spades, 5 spades, 3 of clubs. That I don't think hits their range much at all. It basically came middle cards with 2 spades. When you look at their equity edge, they do have it 55.7. Ours is 44.3. We do have these mid hands, mid ranges in our calling range. You can see we have some of these. We also have spades, some spades. So what happens? Villain bets. He c-bets 50% when out of position, 80% when he's in position. Out of 294 hands, I think he's going to be betting most hands, especially on a board like this. I think on a board like this, he's probably going to be betting for value quite a bit. I think he could have flush draw, open-ended straight draws, 2-card backdoor draws, maybe. These combos. So we're at 55.8%, and that's probably it. I think the middle pair, these lower cards, no made hands, I don't think he's necessarily going to be calling these. So I have 55.8%. That's what he's c-betting, and now it's on us. What do we do? And he's c-bet, 2/3, so I think he's looking to try to just get me to fold or has a big hand. Do I think he's going to be betting this much with a set? I honestly don't think so. I don't have any notes on him. I mean, of course he could, and maybe he's thinking that if he bets 2/3 with a set, you know, a lot of players will call on this dry board with overcards. So maybe he's thinking I'm one of those. But right now, out of 18 hands, I've played one hand, 1 out of 17. We're gonna leave sets in there based on the size. Now for us, we have our choice: fold. We could call, or we can possibly raise. I mean, if we think about, if we raise, what hands is he going to call with? I think he might call with his stronger draws, flush draws. Maybe open ended straight draw he calls. I think he dumps his 2 card backdoor flush draws. So he had 55.8%. Let's say 91. Let's get this range here. Their flop range. We're looking at 55.8%, and then 91 combos is what he's c-betting here. What would he continue if we raise? So I think he's going to dump these 2 card backdoor flush draws. Flush draws, overcards, he's gonna call. Flush draw, open ended straight draw, flush draw pairs, probably. I think he's going to call those, and it depends on what we have. We're building a big pot with our raise here. Pocket pair below the top card, so 7s and 6s. I don't think so. I think he's going to fold those. What about top pair? So 9, 8, 8, 7, ace 8. Ace 8 might call. So right now it's 67 hands he continues out of 91. So he's folding almost about 30%. Are there other hands that he would consider folding? Again, if it could be the top pair. If he folds the top pair, he's continuing with 58 out of 91 hands that he initially had. That 58 out of 91 is continuing with 64%, so he's going to be folding with 38%. I think that could justify maybe a raise, definitely with some premium hands, but probably more so as some draws. So what could I possibly raise with? I think if we raise, we're going to probably be looking at raising, maybe our top pair hands, but we're kind of turning our top pair to a flush, because I think if he calls, his value range is going to have us, and his breakdown, his hands that he would call as flush. Let's get those on here. Just strictly those. You're looking at, 75%, no, 2/3 are value, 2/3 are going to be these overcards. That's if he folds the top pair. If he calls the top pair, you can see, I think he's calling for value. So with us, I do think we could raise here as a bluff. But when it comes down to what types of hands are we going to offset it with, I think the only raises that we're going to see are like the sets. So the sets would then be, you can see 6 combos, and then we probably need 12 combos of bluffs. And the flushes kind of gets us there. Will we do it with all flushes? Possibly. I think now's the time. If he's going to call, we raise now with our flush draws. So what do? I do raise. So let's say that's what we did. We had our flush draws, and we had our sets, and then all the other ones. I'm kind of thinking overpair is probably just going to call. I mean, overpair could be raising to see what's going on, because we're somewhat protecting our hand. We don't want ace king, ace queen to call and catch an ace king or queen. So maybe we raise again with the overpair. Maybe with the top pair, because those are all vulnerable, and maybe the pocket pair less than our top card, we're being aggressive. And if we do that, then we're going to have to be raising a little bit liberally with our just draws. So we're at raising 52% of the time, more value. So had some video problems. Definitely, I kind of think maybe we can raise with bottom pair, pocket pair below second card. Um, and then it kind of comes down to what else would we have? I think raising without having any aces is okay because that gives our opponent more aces in their range. But I think that could be a 3-bet range, and maybe I'm off. Maybe I'm raising too much here, but be in position. But this is definitely not a board that is uh, super favorable to our villain. And I think there's going to be a lot of low cards that can come that would give us opportunity to bet again. Now, if he calls with an 8 or these overpairs, I don't really think overpairs are going to fold. So a low card, I don't think he's going to fold, and that's kind of a big part of his range. So I think we're going to continue. He calls. We're going to say this is what we raised with. We raised hoping to generate some folds. And then we're going to say that he called with some of his draws. And I have 41.1% or 67 combos. We have 58.2%, 64 combos. So right now, just once he called, we're not in good shape. And then the 4 of clubs comes, and the question is, does that help our range at all? I think that's a tricky card because I think if a 2 comes, that helps us. If a 6 comes, that helps us. I think 4 and a 6 is probably the worst. However, 6-7, if I have a 6-7, definitely that 4 is gonna help. A 10 would help. A spade would help. Our backdoor draws now have been helped. So when we put the 4 up, you can see that I got 36.9. Equity does increase, but it's kind of dependent on our villain. What's the villain going to do? So villain now checks, and I think he's going to check 100%. I think if I bet, he's definitely going to probably call these overpairs. Probably most of the overpairs most players do, and the sets and the straights. I think the folds that we're going to get will be the top pair. So I kind of think 91% of the time he's going to be calling here. We made our play to try to win the pot. I don't think he's folding enough of the time to justify it because I do think flush draws are going to be calling. Straight draws, are done. Gut shots are not calling, but those gut shots are part of the flush draw. So based on this, once he calls, I think our jig's up. We took our shot on the flop. Now it's going to seem weak that we don't continue betting here, but I think we're okay based on his range. I didn't do that. I bet. And the question is, what makes sense with betting? I think he's calling here. I don't think it's worthwhile to bet the flush draw when we are on a draw. I think he's going to call, and then we just check behind on a missed. I think if the spade gets there or the club gets there, villain's probably still going to call at least once. Top pair, I think we're going to have to give up. I think the only things that I would consider betting here are going to be the sets, the overpairs, so the 9, 10. And even then, I'm not going to be too happy because when you look at the hands that he has, he's got jacks, queens, kings, and aces. I'd actually kind of think if I bet he's going to be raising, and I could get rid of those hands. Top pair though, I think it's too risky. And then it comes up to what else could we bet? I guess it's possible we could bet some of our draws because right now you're looking at 21 combos. We should probably have about 21 combos of draws, but he's only folding 10%, so I think we should only have maybe a couple bluffs here, if that. So maybe like the one card open-ended straight draw, the 6, maybe 6s. I think that might be about it. Just as kind of like balance. So that would be my betting range that I think we should be doing. and he calls. So I'm going to say he calls with all of that. And now you can see that my equity has definitely improved. So he's calling with 91%. He's got 61 combos. This one, my range is much tighter sets and overpairs. And the overpairs are going to be probably checking behind on the river because I do have showdown values. But the sets, I think I'm going to probably bet along with, if I happen to hit the straights. River card, 4 of hearts. That definitely does not connect. So my range is 47.3 and his equity is 52.7. So we're much closer now. He checks. I think we just check behind. The only time I guess that we would bet would be the full house or quads. Full house, quads. I think we check over cards. All of our misdraws. Pocket pair below the top card. I think that's all we're gonna check. So I know what I had. I had king queen, and that's why I said I had marked this hand to review. I just don't like how I played it. I made the play. King queen might not have. I'm okay because we don't have the ace, and it gives our villain more aces in the range here. At least that he might fold to a raise on the flop. But once he called, he's got something, and I think there's too many of the hands that he called with on the flop he's going to call a turn bet with because the turn didn't really change a whole lot. So I don't like my turn bet here, and I think I'm glad I checked. What did villain show? He showed ace king clubs. So the thing that we missed out on was this 2-card backdoor flush draw. He called with those. Now, is he always going to call with all of them? No, maybe not, but he at least called. So I think we make a note that he's willing to call, because then when that 4 of clubs hits, I think there's more cards that he would be willing to fold. However, on this board, so if this was a 4 of diamonds, he's going to be folding all of those clubs, which means we could probably get away with it with a bet. But with that, he's calling. I think it's even more. You can see 92.4%. We took a stab at it. He didn't believe us and called with backdoor flush draw, and he's not going away with that. Spade comes. So I think our outs, turn brings a spade. That's favorable. Turn brings a 10. That's favorable. Turn brings a 9. That's favorable. I think the 4 is favorable, except for the spade except for the club versus this guy. But I think we kind of have to back off on our bluffs on that turn. So not too happy with this hand, but I don't feel terrible. I lost some money on here. It happens. I took a stab on the flop, and it didn't pay out. All right. Hope you enjoy this. Look tomorrow for another hand.